Welcome, Spartans, to Mission Debrief. We're playing every mission of the mainline Halo video game series in chronological order, discussing our experiences, and sprinkling in a little lore along the way. If you'd like to play along and have your thoughts spread on the show, email us at podcastevolved@gmail.com or drop us a tweet at podcastevolved on Twitter. We'll be recapping Halo 3, talking about how the game stacks up against the other games we've played so far on the next episode. This episode, we're debriefing the Halo mission from Halo 3. I'm your host, Colin Perkins, alongside David Arnold.
Hello, everybody.
And Krysta Brown.
343 is dead. Or is he?
Dun, dun, dun. Last mission was Cortana. The Master Chief, John 117, took it upon himself to enter High Charity and save Cortana. Our trusted but potentially rampant AI holds the key to activating the new Halo ring, which will stop the flood infestation of the Ark. However, Gravemind, aka Gravy Poo, and countless floods stood in Chief's way. After a quick reunion, Chief and Cortana escape the Super City as it falls to ruin. This mission, Chief and Arby crash land a Pelican on Installation 04's replacement with plans to light the ring and destroy the flood. After fighting up to the control room through waves of flood, our fearless duo team up with Sergeant Johnson to quickly activate the ring and escape. However, 343 Guilty Spark takes issue with their impatience and decides to go all laser-face crazy on everybody. The date of the game is December 11th, 2552. We also are going to cover the epilogue in this episode, which takes place on March 3rd, 2553, so just a couple months later. Let's do cutscene opening. David, that's generally your honors.
Oh, yay. Thank you very much. This cutscene's kind of pretty short and sweet for the intro of the game, but it does have a few Halo staple classics, a.k.a. Pelican crashing. So,
right.
The game kind of starts with
so
Chief and
unnecessary,
Arbiter.
too.
Yeah, it is totally unnecessary.
It's like they don't give a shit. It's like they've given up. They're like,
Yeah.
you know what? Fuck landing.
Fuck this. So Chief and the Arbiter are in their Pelican from the last mission, where they've escaped the Gravemind with Cortana that they've now retrieved. And now they're going straight to the control room to light Halo. So
the new Halo is kind of floating up above the Ark now.
That's right. There is, and I don't know about you guys, but it looked terrible on my screen. It looked real bad.
It's the same thing as like the last mission where they just have the fucking like stills instead of an animated background.
Mm-hmm.
It happens really a couple times in this, and it makes me want to remaster so bad.
Yeah.
Okay, so Chief and Arby are in the Pelican. They're approaching New Ring. There's a bit of a conversation with the shipmaster where the shipmaster is leaving. He's getting out. He's getting out of shop. He's getting away from the Ark, because obviously when the ring gets lit, it's going to wipe out all life. So the elites are bailing out. Arbiter is like, I kind of go with you, brother. This is my fight to finish, more or less. Mm-hmm. And the Pelican then approaches a very bad still image of a Halo half-formed Halo ring. It's pretty bad. There's a bit of conversation here where Johnson is apparently piloting the Enamber Clad all by himself. So he is maneuvering this ship after you. This is like your escape vehicle. Obviously, he's going to pick you up afterwards.
It's the Forward Unto Dawn, not the Enamber.
Forward Unto Dawn. Sorry, not Enamber Clad. Forward Unto Dawn. Chief is in a Pelican that is completely space-worthy, yet somehow on approach to the ring is no longer space-worthy or even flight-worthy, and is smoking and crashes. So it's ridiculous. You will start this mission with the weapons you had from the previous mission. If you just continue them on straight away, and you're not like Colin, which is like bouncing into each mission separately, or using the playlist. I think it does this too.
Yep.
When you do, that's it. The mission kind of starts, and away you go. You're in a Crash Pelican, you and RB, and you're on a half-formed Halo ring.
The title card says Full Circle, which is very good.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like all these, like I mentioned, I think last episode, like all these last missions, they kind of write themselves, like the titles of the missions, and I think it's like this is the end of this trilogy, and 343 knows that. They're kind of wrapping up the story, so all this stuff, I feel it's well written in general. You know, I'm bored with everything that happens and these little kind of nods to the larger Halo story and like back to the previous games, I think is very well done.
Yes.
Did you head back to the Pelican?
Yes.
What did you get?
I got a shotgun and a BR.
Very nice, because you knew you were going to fight some Flood.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. David, what about you? What'd you go get?
I had a rocket launcher, and it was had about 6 shots in it, so it was almost full.
So you had that from Cortana, the mission before?
Yeah, exactly, from the mission before.
You also spawn with it as well if you start a new thing.
Do you
spawn with a rocket launcher?
Do you?
I did.
I don't know about that, Krysta Brown.
I don't think I did. I think I was looking around for a rocket launcher. Unless, did you guys play in normal? Because I was playing on heroic and I didn't. So maybe that's...
that could be a thing.
I played on heroic and then I switched it to legendary to get the extra stuff.
Oh, right.
And I had a rocket launcher both times.
Interesting. Cool. I went back and got a BR. So I had a BR and a rocket launcher.
Nice. I think I went shotgun BR too. That was my good combo. We do a little wandering around these cliffs here, and we actually get the skull right away, which is kind of weird. Yep. And it's just right there. You don't really have to do anything fun or special for it. I'm looking at my notes, and I failed to look up the skull. Would one of you guys grab that skull for me really quick, just what it is and what it does? But yeah, so you just kind of wander around the cliffs. You go in this little tunnel it's kind of off the side. It's fairly obvious, I think. Especially if you're an explorer like me in most video games. So you do, and the skull's just right there in the ground. So you just grab,
just hanging out,
just
like
hanging
hello.
There. Yep, exactly. And then you grab that, and then the terminal is just a little ways up, and you just kind of do some jumping off to the right. It's funny because Cortana will actually call out. She's like, "Where are you going?" Because it's pretty obvious you should be heading down this big cliff with those overhang catwalks. But yeah, she kind of calls out that you're wandering and going somewhere else. But then you go in and find the final terminal. So there's Terminal 7, right?
Yes.
Terminal 7, and we'll talk about that at the
Mythic
end of the episode. Kind of wraps up our little Forerunner story a bit. And then, did you guys notice in the room, it's similar to the room in Halo CE where you like walk into that beam?
Yeah, it's the exact replica of it.
Okay, it's the same exact room.
Just like this is Installation 04, which I thought was really cool.
Sense.
So I always walk around that room a little bit, and I try to get in the beam and stuff.
Yeah,
it never works. But
what were we doing in Halo CE? We were like overloading something with our suit, right?
So those are the pulse chargers.
Yeah.
To help light the ring. So you were disabling them with your shields to slow the firing process.
That's right.
To keep Guilty Spark from firing the ring.
That's right. Yeah, it's a cool nod to the original game. All right, so now we have that. Did you guys look up the skull at all? Anybody?
Mythic Skull.
Mythic Skull. And what does that do?
Mythic Skull.
Game's difficulty is boosted by one of the current settings.
Ooh, so it's just even harder.
Yeah. So
all
if
NPCs' health allocation is doubled.
Yeah.
Yikes. Fun times.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. It's a great skull.
Absolutely.
If you play on easy, it'll be normal, but you'll only get the achievements for easy.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. All right, so now we go down into the kind of the basin before the control room. I guess that's what we could call it.
Yeah, it's like the walk up, like the pyramid.
Yeah. And there's not a ton of fighting in this mission. There's a lot of stuff that's going on, a lot of activity, but not a ton of fighting. So we go down, and then Flood immediately just start falling out of the sky. You don't really see, it seems like there's pods or something. I think they refer to them as pods.
Yes.
But you don't really see them. They just kind of explode and then Flood fly out of it. The first Flood you see, at least the first Flood I saw, had a grav hammer. Is that the case for you guys too on the other difficulties?
Yep.
Did you guys grab that grav hammer?
Nope.
I did. I did, and it's a lot of fun to just smash Flood with it. Anyway, I have fun smashing Flood with it. But yeah, the Flood aren't too bad. Let's right away. They're a little ways away, so if you start chipping away at them, but there's a lot of them that spawn in right away, so it is easy to get overwhelmed. I found myself taking a few runs because if you haven't played the mission before, you can kind of go to the left of the control room as you're trying to figure out how to get up the structure, but the left is the wrong way. You want to go on the right, so you have to go all the way around. And I'm guessing, again, I was playing on heroic. I'm guessing on normal. Actually, I played in normal fairly recently, and I think I could run through most of this, but on heroic, you really can't. You do have to take out a lot of the flood and take your time a little bit more than you really want to, because they're all kind of in front of you versus behind you. If you start running, then they'll be behind you and in front of you, which is bad news. So I found myself I had to take my time a decent amount. What's your approach here, Krysta?
So I've played this mission heroic. I played this mission heroic, but I've also done it legendary solo in the past, not on Master Chief Collection. But for me, I found the best strategy is to let the flood spawn and then jump to a lower tier of the pyramid, because then all of the flood will be in front of you. Mm-hmm. So I just keep jumping down tiers until they're kind of contained in front of me, and then go forward.
Sure, because then they'll stop spawning at a certain point.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And then, Johnson's up there as well, and there's some Are there sentinels that spawn? No, there's no sentinels.
No, there's some of those
Johnson's with the
turrets. Those turrets that you can grab way up there.
Yeah, those are great.
No, there are sentinels eventually. There are sentinels at one point.
Yeah.
The further you
so,
work
you
your way
can
up.
kind of let them do some of the work, too.
Mm-hmm. David, how about you?
Also...
Oh, go ahead.
I was playing very well, no deaths. I was doing a great job. And then Johnson's like, "Hey, Master Chief, I'm gonna help you." Immediately lasers me to death.
What?
Excellent.
The first thing he's like, "Hey, I'm here. I have a laser." And then murders me. And I was really upset. I'm like, "Johnson, I believed in you. You were the one."
Was he
hilarious?
Was he on the very top? Is that where he shows up?
Yeah, he's on that cliffside that you go up later.
Yeah. Oh, right. Oh, so he's off on the side, kind of.
Yeah.
I don't know, providing cover or whatever. Okay. I don't think I saw him really doing much for me.
Yeah, he's not incredibly useful. I'll say that much.
He didn't do much for me either, except he killed me. I was so mad. I'm like, really? This is why I don't save NPCs.
I like how he parks the Ford and Dawn just way far away.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous.
Way far away, and then he just brings his hog
Walks.
up. We'll talk about that later, but it's quite a ways away. Why couldn't you just park it kind of close to the control room? But anyway,
there's plenty of places to park it. I've seen them.
Exactly. I mean, it's not a huge. I mean, it's big, but it's not. It's not infinity.
You could have just kept it hovering over the control room.
Yeah,
that would have been great.
Beam me up. That'd be way easier. David, what do you do here?
Nothing real crazy. Like, I had the rocket launcher, so I just kind of aimed for groups and kind of take as many as I can. And it was only on normal, so I also had the BR. So, like Krysta mentioned before, you can get a lot of kind of headshots with the flood in this game. So I kind of it was easy. It wasn't too difficult. I did get overwhelmed once or twice. But typically, when I fight, once I get past the kind of major flux, I'm picking up that flamethrower, baby, and I'm just
yes.
I was gonna ask you about that.
That's pretty much what I did. I flamed my way up and around this the game, up around the pyramid, and I got it to last pretty much until I made it to the top, and then there's a moment of kind of like hold your ground kind of stuff. So you can talk about that. That was kind of fun.
Yeah,
very difficult on legendary, but.
I'm just bad with the flamethrower. I tried. I really tried. Did not work out for me. I kept getting, because you kind of plod along, and I think I just kept using it for the people that were in front of me, and then I would get killed from behind. I don't know. I need some flamethrower work. You need you to train me up. We'll work on it.
You just gotta tap it, but you just gotta tap it.
It's slow and steady. You have to be really slow with that one.
I'll keep working on it. All right, so we keep going up. Nothing really crazy. There are, what do we call the pure forms? There's a bunch of them that show up along the way, and the flooders just kind of jumping all over the place. To your point, if you go up a tier and then go back down, they'll kind of jump off the side to attack you, but at least they'll all be kind of in front of you, and you can clear them out. So
yeah, it's way more manageable if you go down a tier.
Did you notice? So they were talking to me. Was that the Gravebind?
Yeah, they've been talking. They talk a little bit throughout the entire game, but yeah, it's Like, the Flood don't actually have any personalities of their own, so whenever they talk, it is the Gravemind.
Okay. But it was a little jarring for me because, like, we have these Gravemind moments where, like, the game stops and the screen shakes. That's when he really wants to talk to you, but when he just wants to kind of give you some shit, he just talks through the Flood.
Oh, and it's like, it's a really
you.
cool effect where it sounds like it's actually like all around you and coming from a bunch of different places, which I really like, but it's creepy as hell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's like, you're a loser, and then like 20 of them are saying it. It's like, maybe I am a loser because there's 20 of them saying
Oh no, they're all right.
it. 20 people can't all be wrong.
That's right. You're outnumbered. We make it to the top, and that's where we have our little, I don't know, horde mode, final stands spot here. Johnson will show up at this point, and then he tells Guilty Spark, who I don't think we've really seen yet. Do we see Guilty Spark anywhere?
Yeah.
Is he floating around?
I don't think he's in the...
Not in this mission.
No, he's not floating around.
Yeah, that was my question. I don't think I saw him floating around, but Johnson tells Spark to open the door, and he says, you got to clear the Flood first. So we say, okay, we'll do that. And there's a couple of those little auto turrets you can grab that will help. They're not the greatest, but they'll help a little bit. And I didn't have too much trouble with this kind of stand spot. Did you, David, or you? Because you had you ran out of ammo, right?
I ran out of ammo now at this stage, so I was picking up shotguns and anything else that was around me now at this stage.
Okay, and I'm chucking grenades at this point a lot because they're usually kind of clustered up a little ways away. But I don't think I had too much of a problem. Krysta, what are you using at this point?
I think I had a carbine and I still had my shotgun.
Oh, nice.
Or maybe it was like an SMG or something. I just kept switching out stuff, and once in a while a shotgun would come by me again, and I just pick it back up.
Mm-hmm. Nice. And I always forget the name of the brute shotguns. What are those called again? I think I found some of those.
Brute shots?
No.
Oh, no, Maulers.
The Maulers, yeah.
Maulers,
I found a couple
yeah.
Maulers at
Maulers
one
are
point.
great.
Yeah. That was good. So we clear out this area, and then Guilty Spark finally opens the door, and then we run through this forerunnery place area thing. Does this harken back to the same design as Halo 1 too? Like, it felt
This
similar?
is exactly the same.
Like, it's the same like pathway and everything?
Exactly the same.
Okay.
Yeah. It's all the same.
I mean, it looks different because it's further in the future, different technology and things like that, but it does feel the same as it, and it's like this giant, walkway. There's no pizza vendor or hot dogs on the way, which I was a little disappointed with. But
No,
a
very
little wasted space. But yeah, so we just crawl through these tunnels here, and then make it to the control room, and we get a cutscene right here, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. Wait a minute, I'm looking at my notes. We do get a Gravemind moment here. Yeah, we do. He says, "Do I take life or give it? Who is victim and who is foe?"
Ooh.
At this point, has Cortana mentioned that Gravemind's reforming itself?
Yeah, I
as
think
well?
right around that point is when she says that. So we kind of blew him up in the last mission in High Charity. But Krysta, you're our Flood expert, so like he can kind of use the biomass of other Flood to kind of reform himself at this point.
Yeah. As long as the Gravemind itself, like even if a little bit is dead, as long as a significant amount of biomass is available, the Gravemind can just reform himself as much as he wants. The entirety of the infestation would have to be eliminated to also eliminate the Gravemind, because the Gravemind needs available biomass to survive.
And didn't you say at one point where like one infection form, as long as one infection form is alive, then like all of that knowledge is still available to the Flood?
So we don't know exactly how the Flood is formed, but we don't know the extent of everything, because the Flood that we're dealing with was still the same Flood that the Forerunners were fighting, because they're the ones that they preserved some spores, and that's kind of how this infestation started. And the same for Installation 04 as well. But as we know so far, the Gravemind is the Gravemind is the Gravemind. He never changes, so if another significant amount of biomass is formed somewhere else, the Gravemind can just reform himself, and he'll be the exact same Gravemind we fought in this game.
And there's only one Gravemind at a time?
Yes, there can only be one at a time. I'm not sure if distance means anything, but during the Forerunner Flood War, there was literally an entire galaxy infested, and there was still only one Gravemind.
Mm-hmm.
So, as we know now, there's only one Gravemind at a time.
Let's do the cutscene. There's some things that happen. David, what you got?
Oh,
Just a couple, just one or two.
It's
Nothing
a sad
really important.
cutscene, man. It's real sad. So, like I said, this is another cutscene with a staple 343 classic, i.e., killing off major characters that should never be killed in the first place. Because that sucks.
Well,
He's not dead yet.
Yeah, so the cutscene starts, and you have Master Chief, Johnson, 343, and the Arbiter walking into the control room. The Arbiter, for some reason, just hangs out back. He doesn't really approach anything. He's just kind of chilling. He's watching the door.
probably guarding the door,
Yeah, he's guarding the door. So Chief and Johnson approach, and Guilty Spark is pretty pleased with himself, happy with everything that's going down. Chief and Johnson have a exchange where I don't know why, but Chief gives Johnson Cortana's chip.
Because he can take his gloves off. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. Doesn't seem necessary. So Johnson approaches the control panel, and Guilty Spark says, "This is great. The array will be ready to fire in a matter of days." And Johnson says, "We don't have days. We're firing now." And 343 is not happy about that, because he says, "If you fire it now, the ring will be destroyed." Johnson says, "I don't care. We're lighting it up," in his Johnson way. But before he can get to the thing, 343 has a panic attack and essentially turns on Johnson and uses his crazy ass laser beam to blast Johnson back and say, "You are Forerunner, blah blah blah. We are Forerunner. No, you are Forerunner, but this ring is mine." So
which was like immediately, once 343 took over, it was like immediately redacted, that line.
Yeah, it's gas.
Oh yeah. Well, he says that to Chief, not to Johnson.
Yeah, he says it to Johnson. So,
which also makes me think that Chief has a Gios. Just saying.
Well, you are Forerunner. For all intents and purposes, I think he meant there in terms of you are the inheritor of all their Forerunners tech, because there's no more Forerunners. So, like, you are Forerunner in terms of you have the responsibility and the access. Access to all their technology. But he's saying
technically, like, the Forerunners were supposed to be ancient humans at one point in the lore, and then they changed it.
Oh.
It was like, because, like, that's kind of what these games are suggesting, with, like, only humanity being able to activate stuff, and
I got you.
They were definitely leading you on to believe that the Forerunners were just ancient humans, but then they kind of, like, changed it with you just being the inheritor of what the Forerunners gave you.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough. And I want to say that was probably the librarian's work to whatever subtly modify
she just changed
humanity.
Permissions to admin on humanity.
Right click, add, save as human.
Yep.
That's pretty much it. And then Guilty Spark turns on you, shoots John with his laser beam, shoots him a few times.
Mm-hmm.
John kind of takes it, stumbles, stands, takes another shot, and then the kind of game / last boss fight begins.
Yeah. And this is not real. I mean, it's kind of a boss fight, but it wasn't difficult for me on Heroic, but it's different than what you're used to. And yeah, Guilty Spark in his little red eye. He lets out these bursts of air, I think, and just kind of pushes you back, so you can't really charge farther ahead. And then
he can push you off the ledge.
He can push you off.
Yeah.
So you got to be careful.
That's
you got to kind of stay in the middle. You can't really go to either side.
Right, and he just has terrible aim. So it's pretty easy to avoid his little laser beam face. And it doesn't take a ton of shots to at least get him to back off originally, and then you go up and Johnson hands you the Spartan laser, and you go grab that, and then you use that, and you blast him in the face a couple times. I think it takes, was it 4 shots for me?
It takes a few. Yeah, it's an infinite beam.
But and also he gets like way crazy every time you hit him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he starts to
really funny.
To fizzle and spark and
like crazy noises. It's great.
Yeah. I mean, it's a fun sequence. It's not like super difficult, like boss wise, but it's a fun sequence. I mean, I guess I'm glad they did it. I'm sad that they killed off Johnson, because now we got another cutscene. We get a little heart to heart with their boy.
Yeah, so this is never talked about in the mainline Halo games at all, but Chief and Johnson actually have a pretty long history.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
Like, Johnson was one of Chief's mentors as he was learning to be a Spartan. Not like training him to be a Spartan, but just, an example of a good soldier.
Mm-hmm.
So they've known each other for a really, really long time at this point.
Yeah, and some of that is like new lore.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
people didn't have
Yeah,
that
it is.
perspective at the time. I mean, still, you've known Johnson. I mean, he wasn't really Johnson in Halo CE. He was kind of Johnson in Halo CE. But you've known him for a long time. So as a player, it's a big deal that he sees his end here.
It's terrible.
Rip.
Anything? Well, I guess nothing
Send me
really to
out
add
with
from a
the
cutscene
bang.
standpoint. They have their little heart, their little bro fist thing happens, and then Chief kind of hands off Cortana to activate the ring. She's sad, and then Arbiter's sad. We're all sad.
We're so sad. And then the ring starts falling apart and you totally forget about your sadness. But
Yep.
the sequence where the burst comes and Master Chief's like sitting silhouetted in the middle of it is a really cool shot.
Mm-hmm.
It's excellent, yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. There's a lot of good shots in this last mission. Like so many iconic ones.
Yeah. Yep, and then we just kind of hustle off and then meet up with Arbiter, and he, like you said, he's like, sorry, but we got to get the hell out of here. No time to dwell on emotions at this point. And we just hustle out, and the Flood are making their way into the room, and our doors are opening for us now, but we just have to fight through them. Do you have to really clear them all out? Maybe at one point?
No, you
No,
don't.
you can just run at this point.
You can run it.
Yeah.
As a note, if you did use those Sentinel turrets and they survived, they will murder you. So be sure
Yes.
Yeah, they turn on you.
be sure to destroy them before activating the cutscene because it
Mhm.
makes your life way easier when you're trying to run out of the control room.
Yep, I had that problem. It didn't feel good. I felt betrayed.
Or put them in the far end of the room, of that first platform. Put them all the way at
Oh,
the
that's a
end
good
because you
idea.
don't go that way.
Mm-hmm.
So,
But
fun.
and now at this point, everybody's shooting at you, like the Flood as they were before. But now the Sentinels have turned on you, and like you said, that turret's turned on you. So you're getting shot at from every direction. And if you haven't played this mission before, you're gonna get lost pretty easily because you're gonna head down and not necessarily know where to go. It's not super obvious that you need to head up the side. So
I think Cortana
feel like I
says something
wandered
like
around.
where Johnson was or something.
yeah, but even then, I mean, if like I said, I didn't really see Johnson when I was playing.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's easy to miss this little ridge, and this could be a little frustration point for some people. But maybe if you are paying attention to where Johnson was and you remember that, then you go up that bridge. Or obviously, if you played it before, you know what to do.
They do place Flood on that ridge, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There are enemies up the ridge. So, I mean, if you're following video game logic and if there are enemies, I'm going the right way,
Right.
then you can figure it out.
Yeah. Yep. So follow the Flood, in other words, and you will find your way to Johnson's Warthog. There is another little forerunnery area that you need to work your way through. Where this is kind of a little bit of a sticking point here because there are a lot of Flood, and then you also have Sentinels that are firing at you in this one room. So
Yeah, it's interesting to know these are the similar rooms that are in Assault for the Control Room as well, that you're
Yeah.
moving through
Yeah.
in Halo CE. So it's kind of cool to see those rooms done up in Halo 3 style.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. And then there's that long corridor with all the carrier forms that explode.
Oh, I hated that.
Yeah, so lots of opportunities. I mean, this is the start to kind of the very end of the end run, but there, especially on Legendary, this could be a frustration point because you're this is the end. You're like, all right, it's got to get through this last part. But if you don't take your time or rush it a little too much, you can find yourself restarting quite a bit. But so we get out of the structure and hop into the Warthog. And does
No.
Arbiter ever drive?
I don't
No,
know.
I don't think so.
I don't
think
you
you have to
can.
drive. Yeah, no, he doesn't, I don't think.
Okay. So did either of you guys grab the mongoose?
Yep.
So did
No,
I.
I've never grabbed.
I did
the
because
mongoose.
I'm like these two guys are gonna get the warthog, so I have to do something different. So I'm gonna do the run into mongoose.
Nice. I did too.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Yes.
I
The
think-
mongoose is much faster.
I felt like it was slower. It felt like I was moving slower. I don't know. So to get the
You flip
mongoose,
over a lot
you head.
easier.
Yeah, for sure. You head down. You kind of head out the kind of onto the snow, and then when you're supposed to turn right, you turn left instead, and there you kind of wind around a little bit, and there will be a mongoose just waiting there for you. And you can hop
It's like,
in that.
please
and
use
then,
me. I'm made of paper mache.
The thing is, Arbiter won't jump on with you. At least he didn't for me.
No, you just abandoned
Yeah.
him. You're like, bye.
And then you never see him driving the warthog either.
Nope.
Yeah, so
Nope,
that's a
he
little
just
bizarre.
magically appears on the forward unto dawn when your mongoose magically turns into a warthog.
Yep, there's that. There's that. I think I read somewhere there might be a chopper too. I don't know if that's in the trivia anywhere.
What?
But
No, there's no chopper. There's ghosts on a certain. I don't think there's any
Wait,
chopper.
I think you need to have 4 players for the ghost to spawn though.
Oh,
You
okay.
do, yeah.
It's like one of those. It was one of the achievements to get the recon armor.
The Vidmaster challenges, if you recall.
Yeah,
So where do they spawn when you're
they spawn in the same area.
right where so around the corner or right where the
Yeah.
warthog is?
No, right around the corner where the
Gotcha.
other mongoose spawns.
I see. All right, so this part is tense. It's reminiscent of Halo CE, where we're trying to escape on the Pillar of Autumn. David, is this easy for you?
Hello. The Warthog run?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
You got
It's,
down.
I've done it so many times, and I was the designated Halo driver for like all of my Halo time growing
Oh.
up playing with friends. So like
Sure.
when it comes to Warthog driving, I'm pretty damn good at what I do. But it's quite enjoyable. I love the Warthog runs.
Mhm.
And I love this one too. It's pretty great.
Is there
I
a
love-
strategy for you, or do you just hug the left, do you hug the right, or do you just kind of know what tiles are gonna
I
fall?
kind of know where I'm going at this stage in terms of like when the panels are going to blow and fall.
Mhm.
It's kind of instant that I pretty much play it straight. I don't go any particular crazy route. There isn't really a whole lot you can do. It more or less forces you down the middle, per se, because certain panels will drop at different times. And then you get like these major main areas that don't fall but are flood infected.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of fun to kind of try and kill as many as you can and kind of like run over and get those kind of like splatter achievement or splatter kills. It's kind of great fun.
So we're driving on top of the installation that's like not built yet. Is that kind of the
Yeah.
What they're
Yeah,
trying
we're
to-
on like the foundations, if you were, of the ring.
Very cool.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very very cool. Also, it's if you're kind of mainline single player kind of guy like me, you rarely get a chance to look up. This skybox is pretty
Oh
amazing.
Yeah.
my god!
Looking
it's
up where you can
amazing.
see the arc in the center of it, and I can't remember the name of it, but the planet that's inside the center that's being used for
moon.
it's being mined for its resources
I don't
to build
think
the
we've
halos.
talked about that.
No, but in the
So-
center of the arc. Go, Krysta, you got it.
Okay, so how the Ark works is the Ark is basically a place to create halos and replace them. That's what the Ark is made for. And to fire them off. It's literally the control room for all the halos and where the halos are built. So if you've noticed, you've probably seen it, but you can definitely see it here. In the middle of the Ark is a planet. And so what the Ark does is the Retriever Sentinels, which are these big, like huge sentinels, will actually bring planets or moons that are rich in whatever material is needed to make a halo ring and put it in the center of the Ark, which is called the Forge. And so that's the materials they use to create the ring. So
cool.
so that's why the moon is so decrepit right now, because they were making installation 04 out of it.
That's super cool.
It's
And when that
amazing.
runs out, they just get another one.
Yeah. Yeah, like you said, you can't really look up when you're playing single player. So I haven't spent much time. I'm watching a little bit of this walkthrough right now, and I tried to, but it's so hard in the moment. The one thing that always catches my eye is when you see the forward unto dawn. You finally kind of see that off in the distance, so that's fun to see. But then it's off kind of onto the side, and then you have to kind of wind around to actually get to it. Krista, how'd the mongoose go for you?
It went well. I flipped a couple of times,
Yeah.
but I only had one death where I just couldn't. I couldn't get. I was A lot of the times I skirt the corners of the blown up panels because it's usually faster, but I just kind of overshot it and fell in. So, other than that, it was a really smooth run.
There was
That can
one.
happen.
There was one jump I think that I had problem with, but that I didn't make if I wasn't going full speed. But other than that, it's fun to drive that mongoose, and the infection forms are extra crunchy when you run those over.
Yeah. Everything will flip you over too.
Yeah.
Like all of those, I pretty much avoided all the flood. I didn't hit any of them, and during the tunnel parts, I always took the route that went under everything because there's less flood and sentinels to deal with.
Yeah, that makes
Smart.
sense. That makes sense.
Also, the mongoose just fits really well in those parts because it's very narrow.
Cortana this whole time is kind of telling you how close you are. She's just doing a little countdown timer. There's no actual timer.
I think,
Which is
yeah,
nice. Thank you.
It's nice to remove that. It's a percentage of the Halo's charge, I think, is what she's saying.
That's right.
Or is it yeah, I think it is.
Yeah.
Like 30%, you're 70%.
Which is also kind of
so-
telling you how far away from or how close you are to the end.
Yeah.
But if you do stay in one spot, like you will die, right? Like the panels will fall.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can't
Like the
linger too much.
entire the entire map is meant to fall out from under you. So even in those big platforms that are circular that you go through, like those will literally fall off the map if you stay on them too long.
Oh, I gotcha. I also like it when there's those towers that will kind of fall off onto the side and kind of see them. You're like, oh shit, and you gotta veer off to the side.
This Warthog run is so much fun.
Yeah, it's very good. Very, very good. I feel like for me, it's not as frustrating as the first one because this one does have narrow spots, but in Halo CE there was a lot of narrow spots, and you're just kind of weaving back and forth. And if you catch a little bit of the environment, you'll flip or screw up your timing because you do have that timer to worry about the
Warthog controls on CE are really bad compared to the ones in later Halo games.
It's not that much worse, is it? It's just Warthog.
It's way easier to control them in Halo 3.
They probably tightened it up.
4
Like
and
it's not
5.
bouncy or something. It's more bouncy in CE, I would imagine.
Yeah, it's more clunky, I think,
Yeah.
I'd say.
It's a heavier. It feels heavier, a bit more sluggish. I think you've got a bit more maneuverability in the CE Warthog, in the Halo 3 Warthog.
Gotcha. It's so hard, like when you don't play the game back to back, when you're playing them so far apart for us. Like you feel the evolution, but it doesn't, like there's not super big. Like if I was to play Halo CE and then right away move into Halo 3 and be driving Warthogs in the East, that it would be super noticeable. But because we've been playing Halo 3 for a couple months now, it's hard to reckon back. But anyway, we finish this run and then we make it to the Forward Unto Dawn. We make this final jump. Your mongoose turns into a warthog. Arbiter somehow shows up. Take us through this final cutscene, David.
So the final cutscene of Halo CE.
Halo 3.
Halo 3. Kind of, but not. Pay attention, Krysta. It's pretty damn cool. So your Warthog, you made the jump in whatever vehicle you were driving. The Warthog crashes into the loading bay of Forward Unto Dawn, quite dramatically. You both jump out, you and the Arbiter, and you interface with Cortana, or you interface Cortana with the ship. She immediately boosts and starts flying the ship for you, and starts aiming it up. And then as she's kind of leaving, the Scorpion tank, everything in the kind of the bay starts kind of falling out. And like the Scorpion tank kind of crushes towards you. There's a dramatic moment of the Arbiter running away, of Chief dodging, and the tank crashes. But Arbiter's okay. Chief and him share a nod of brotherly affection of you good.
Yep.
Arbiter runs up, leaves and goes run. You imagine to the command center of the ship, and the Chief kind of stays with Cortana down in the belly of the ship. As it flies up. Everything gets kind of sucked out, including the Scorpion, and Chief is kind of getting blown out too. So he's got to do this really dramatic punch into the ship and kind of hold on himself by just punching into it, which is pretty damn cool.
And then Cortana tries to catch
Yeah.
She like reaches out for him. It's like, girl, what are you gonna do?
Yeah. And then as the ship kind of blasts off, you get kind of the view through the bay of seeing the kind of the Halo ring and the Ark in the background. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a really cool shot.
And you're just kind of punching your way trying to make it to the portal. And it's kind of ambiguous now in terms of where the portal is to where the ring is to where the Ark is, because those distances seem insane. In terms of just the scale when you're looking at the size of these things, they're really far apart. So the portal, wherever it is still open. And Chief is
So can
blasting
I stop you right
it.
now, because I just
You can.
realized, it's like in my mind's eye there was a shot where the portal, like, because we've been slip space jumping randomly this whole time, like throughout the games, and for some reason it didn't dawn on me until now. We're just going back into the same portal that was open, like the portal of Voy.
It's not like we're not slip spacing. It's
Yeah.
just a big ass portal that's open.
Right.
Which is kind of weird. So it's like a sphere you're gonna fly into, and so the ship that is not in amber clad, for some reason I'm just stuck on saying that over and over again. It's forward unto dawn. Flies into the portal. Now, I was convinced that there was some scene that actually shows that being cut. But
Yes.
it doesn't. I don't know why.
Me too.
But in my brain, I was convinced there was something showing me this ship, the portal collapsing and the ship being cut in two. I don't know why.
I have the
I'm glad
same
you two
exact
to 'em.
memory. I
So,
don't know.
I don't
I
know
don't
if I'm
remember
crazy.
that.
Yeah, I know, but I have a very specific memory of that happening. I don't, but obviously it's not
You
in.
forgot the best scene where Chief crawls his way up to Cortana's terminal, and then he like raises and Cortana stands up, and it's just
Yeah.
like giant Chief,
Yes.
Ark in the background, Cortana.
That shot's amazing. So right when he hits the
Mwah.
portal,
Mwah.
Chief's looking back, Cortana, the ring blows, and they make it into the portal. Something happens.
She
Obviously,
calls
there's a
him John
cutscene.
as well.
She calls him John. That's true. Something happens in the portal. Obviously, it's from the wake of the blast of the Halo ring. Cuts your ship in half. You don't know this kind of yet, but the cutscene cuts to Earth, and the front part of the Forward Unto Dawn is crashed into Earth, and there's like a rescue operation going on, and Arbiter is pulled out of the wreckage, but that's it. And then the kind of screen pans up and shows you this ship is cut in half, and you're like, holy crap, what the hell was that? And then it kind of cuts to a memorial service. So there's a time jump here now in the middle. So there's a memorial service which HUD is giving a speech about remembering all those heroes who were lost. As we rebuild Earth, this hill will remain barren in memory of everyone who lost their lives. And there is a Miranda Keys picture, a bunch of random Marine picture, and a 117
Johnson.
scraped in. And Sergeant Johnson's there. And a 117 scraped in, which seems kind of shitty. You think they'd have something better, but anyway.
Yeah.
Well, Spartans are not supposed to die, so they can't
That's
really put him on the memorial.
That's true.
Is the memorial, is it a pelican fin, or what is that thing?
That's
Yeah.
what I always thought it was. A kind of wing or a fin belonging. Well, there's so many crashed pelicans, do you know what I mean? They can just
Yeah.
pick
They had a
anything,
lot of
it's like, oh, well,
supplies to work with.
yeah, we'll make a memorial out of this thing. And they just kind of banged it there. So then you get the kind of epilogue, shall we say. So the game kind of ends with a cool dialogue between HUD and Arbiter, where HUD is like, because when you think about it, the Covenant War literally just ended with humanity. So
right.
like, things are very fresh. So it's kind of a little bit glossed over in the games how large significance it was of the Covenant and but the elites and humanity joining forces, especially at that particular time, because the Covenant had just invaded Earth, and they've been wiping out all the colonies right up to this point. So HUD has a kind of cool bit of dialogue where I cannot forgive you for what your species has done to mine, but I can thank you for being there at the end. So I thought that was a great line. It was just so well delivered, and kind of encapsulates that there is still a bitterness there, and rightly so, on humanity's side against aliens in general, let's say.
Well, as we've talked about in the previous series, Arbiter killed billions of humans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's that's not ever really addressed that much across even some of the books kind of touch on specific characters, but not on like the main ones, and kind of like the genocide on a crazy galactic scale that happened as humanity was pushed back in this war. Now, humanity did fight back and committed their own genocides in a few other books and stuff, but nothing to the scale of what the Covenant really did. I don't know if there's a actual death toll. I would wonder if the casualty report of the war of how many humans were wiped. I'm sure it's a pretty dire number.
Well,
but
Arbiter's at the top of that high score list.
You better believe it. In terms of the stuff that he did, but anyway, he says, "I'm glad or something. I can't believe Chief's gone." And Arbiter kind of looks up and goes, "Where it's so easy."
Oh, such a
which
good
is
line.
a great line
Yeah,
because it
bookend.
harkens back to the beginning of the game, which is very nice. And then the game fades, and you get the epilogue scene. So the epilogue cutscene cuts back to the other half of the in-ambered, not in-ambered, clad forward at the dawn. I don't know why I'm so stuck on
You're
that. But
confusing
anyway,
people.
I know, I'm sorry. It's the forward unto dawn. And the end of it, where the engines are encapsulated, is floating in space. And it kind of cuts to Chief within this system in 0G. He grabs an AR and kind of, Cortana is talking to him, I didn't think we'd make it. We must got knocked out from the blast. I've set a beacon, but it's a very long time before anybody is going to hear us. So Chief is kind of making his way into a cryopod. And Cortana is kind of saying, we did it. We won the end, Covenant, everything. It's over.
Finished.
And Chief kind of agrees with her, which is an interesting bookend to, like, again, of she says something similar at the end of Halo CE, and John kind of says, no, I think it's just the beginning. We're just getting started. But at the end,
she
John
says,
is
Halo,
acknowledging.
it's finished.
Yeah, and at the end of this now, John acknowledges, yeah, that war is done, we're done. And he kind of puts himself into a cryopod, and there's a kind of sad moment then where he kind of just says, wake me if you need me.
Oh,
And,
it's so sweet. It's like the
yeah,
sweetest thing Master Chief's ever said.
Yeah. And then he kind of freezes himself, I guess, in cryosleep, and Cortana's kind of left to ponder alone. And you just see the ship in space floating away by itself.
She does
Now,
say,
Which
"I'll
is so
miss
bad
you" at
for
one
an AI
point.
did not have anything to do.
Yeah. Does she say that?
Yeah, I'm just looking at some closed captioning. It says, "I'll miss you."
Okay. And then, if you want to talk about the legendary ending to the game,
Yeah, let's just do it. Let's do it all.
big ass spoiler. So as the game credit, I can't remember when it happens, but let's just say you cut back to, and it shows you the ship, the rear end of Forward Unto Dawn, floating in space, and then it kind of pans the camera around, and you see it's actually flying towards a planet, and then that planet looks crazy. I think, doesn't it look artificial? Dun, dun, dun. Game ends. Ta-da!
It has like
Congratulations,
a.
you've completed
Doesn't it
Halo
have
3.
there's like a sun like kind of rising on the other side of it too.
Yeah, it's a great kind of image of, like, you're obviously in some kind of solar system.
Yeah.
You're about to crash in. Well, not crash, but you're rapidly approaching a planet.
Yeah.
So we're not going to spoil what comes next.
And they never made a Halo again.
No.
Never
The
again.
End.
And then we get like 5-6 years of nothing on Master Chief, and we're like, what the fuck is going on? Where's Master Chief? You keep making Halo games, but there's no Master Chief.
Yeah. So this is 2007, and then
Yep.
ODST comes out in 2009. Reach comes out in 2010. It's not until 2012 we get Halo 4. That's nuts.
Yeah. We do get CE anniversary in between then,
Sure.
too.
But it's not new story.
It's not a continuation of Master
Yeah.
Chief's story. But that's kind of when they kind of reignite the series, and they're like, yeah, we're going to keep going with it. There's actually stuff to do, and we're like, thank you, Buddy Ross, for saving Halo.
That's right. She did it. She saved it. Very cool. Anything? So I was thinking back to that, like our memory, our shared memory that doesn't actually exist, David. I think it's because like you see the front half and then you see the back half, and you just kind of somewhere along the lines you assume that like something
portal
severs
closed
it.
on it?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
that's what I was envisioning, kind of like with Halo 2, where the where Regret escapes through the portal and you can see the portal closing. I was expecting like a closing portal to be what cut it in half, but that wouldn't make sense in this case because then Chief would have been dead
how did
because
they
he was
get
right by
anywhere?
the
Yeah.
pulse, right by the
Yeah, I
Halo
get you.
pulse. So he was they were in slip space. The Forward
portal
into Dawn
destabilized.
broke it
Yeah.
apart, and then the portal just kind of dropped them off somewhere. You know,
Cool.
after they exited slip space somewhere in the universe.
Yes.
Wow. How do you guys feel now? I mean, we'll talk more about it, I guess, in the next episode, but it's pretty emotional, this last mission. Do you feel like the fight is finished, Krysta?
Yeah, it's finished. It's over.
The fight has been finished.
Yeah.
It's finished for a couple years anyway.
Very good. Fun mission overall. Not the best mission from my perspective, but one of the better missions. This whole back half of the game is pretty good. Cortana, but the last 4 missions are fantastic.
Agreed.
Let's do some. So now that we're at the end, we are gonna do the recap show next. So we're gonna have lots of thoughts to share with you about the kind of the whole package. So we'll probably share a lot of our thoughts and talk about them then. So why don't we just do community? We'll do terminal, community, and then we'll get out of here. But you got some trivia probably, right?
Yeah, I got some trivia I want to throw in here a bit. So there's a lot kind of going on in this kind of mission. Nothing too crazy, but some interesting little tidbits I'm gonna drop in for you. So apparently it is possible to kill Johnson and grab an infinite ammo Spartan laser. So the player has to kill him the first time with a low armor laser, switching it for a weapon that Johnson can pick up. He will stand up again with another Spartan laser. Killing him again will allow your player to retrieve to obtain this second laser. This laser will be infinite, which is kind of handy for outside when you come back out the control room fighting Sentinels and Flood, which is kind of interesting. If you keep killing Johnson, however, eventually the betrayal will amount to him turning on you, which is kind of interesting. So I don't know if anyone's ever done that. I just think it's so wrong to kill Johnson.
Yeah, that is.
He's gonna die anyway.
Oh God.
Oh yeah. Now check out this bit of craziness. So if you kill Johnson before entering the control room, after killing 343 Guilty Spark, when the door opens, you can see Johnson on the floor wounded, and a Flood pod infector will convert him into a combat form.
Oh really?
What?
And the pod infectors are killed before they do so. He will get up and fight with the player. Although he won't leave the building, he's supposed to be dead, so he has no scripted path to follow. If you try to push him out the door, he'll automatically run back. Instead, if you somehow manage him to push him until the Warthog, he will come within the Hog during the ending cutscene. Johnson is not in the Warthog for obvious reasons. So isn't that?
Hell?
But he's a combat form. But he's got Bourne syndrome. He can't be converted.
I know.
Oh no!
Madness. That's why it's not canon.
Not canon.
Why it's not canon. Nope. There is a talking grunt on this level, which is kind of fun. So you can meet this grunt. He's on one of the towers as you're kind of Warthog running. If you talk to him, you're going to die.
It's on a Warthog run?
Yeah, on the
so
Warthog
you gotta hop
run.
off somewhere?
You have to hop off and walk around one of those big towers on the outside of the game, kind of on the mission. He'll make fun of Chief's childhood by mocking how he was kidnapped and forced into the Spartan 2 program.
Okay.
It's also kind of referencing the other talking grunts that appears in past Halo games. It's kind of interesting. There's an achievement to do this. If you go all the way into the cave with the terminal, look to your right, you will see a dark area. If you grenade launch yourself over there, the first pillar, and you jump onto a platform to your left, and if you look at the wall with your flashlight, you'll see Jason Jones, one of the founders of Bungie, jumping up and down in his underwear, which is such a bizarre.
It's so weird because Jason Jones, if you haven't heard of him, you probably haven't for good reason, because he's like the ghost of Bungie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's one of the heads of the studios and makes a lot of the major decisions, but he doesn't like being in the public eye at all. Right. And some people who work in the studio haven't even met him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, people are, even when he shows up at Bungie Studios to like address the entire staff, people are like, whoa,
like, who's that guy?
Yeah, he likes his privacy, I guess, but he's kind of a funny guy to follow. Like, sightings of him, you'd think someone just saw Jesus. They're like, oh my god, is that Jason Jones? It's like, oh, it's really funny.
That's cool. Two last kind of bits that I really kind of enjoyed. One of the lines spoken by 343 during his fight is "my precious." So this is a reference, obviously, to Gollum, the character from Lord of the Rings, who was obsessed with a ring.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool.
Very good.
And he refers to it as precious. The chapter title, "The Way the World Ends," and Johnson's line, "Send me out with a bang," are both references to the poem "The Hollow Man" by T.S. Eliot. This is the way the world ends, not with a bang, but with a whimper. The poem is also referenced in Halo 3 announcement trailer, and previously the Cortana letters and the reversed messages found in Halo 3's soundtrack. So there you go. And
Weird poems like that are later in the series too, because Cortana references herself as like the sword of something from a weird poem.
Yes, it may or may not be the one about Roland going to Gilead.
I think it is. I think it's that one.
Yeah, I'm blanking on the name, but it inspired the Stephen King books, The Gunslinger and stuff like that. There's a lot of stuff in there. What else am I going to say? Yeah, very, 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 very last thing. Halo Primordium is a kind of a book that comes after. It ties into what happens here. I don't know if we want to talk about it and kind of spoil that a little bit.
No.
Will we leave it? Okay. We'll leave it.
If you want to learn more about what happens after the arc, you should read Primordium and you should read Hunters in the Dark.
Yes.
Do that.
Yes. Good stuff. Also, it's important to know that the arc was not destroyed by the Halo ring exploding. It was just heavily damaged. Cortana says it really did a number on the arc. So that's kind of an important piece of tidbit.
Yep. So
and then the Retriever Sentinels go crazy looking for stuff to fix it with.
Yes, they do. Okay, guys, that's my trivias.
Cool.
There you go.
All right, now we pass it over to Krysta to do terminals.
Oof. Okay. So.
Terminal.
Oh, yeah. This is a terminal, but there's a lot of it. So, the first 2 sections aren't super important, so I'm going to kind of gloss by them to get to the important stuff.
Okay.
So, upon initial access, it's a message to someone's father telling you, I hope this message finds you well. I'll never see you again. We should have acted sooner. Living in the past is a luxury none of us can afford. We must learn for it and move forward. Don't trade my life in order to preserve the past. It's a very lamenting note to a father, kind of telling him to go ahead and do kind of sacrifice. It's a very sacrificial thing where he's like, sacrifice myself, betterment of society, stuff like that. I don't remember exactly who this is, but it feels like it might be one of the Didact's children sending him a message, because that's a big plot point with the Didact. He had a lot of kids, and they all went off to war, and they all died in war, so it's possible, but it's never, like, it says Shield of Truth, Shield of Privilege at some point, and stuff like that. It's not very clear. So upon shutdown the error messages say something very important, so you should always look at the error messages. It says, I'll tell you who I am, ... I am medicant bias. This is what I've done.
Dun, dun, dun.
He's been
Big
talking
reveal.
to us the whole
Big
time.
reveal.
It's been medicant bias. And so if you're playing this on any difficulty other than Legendary, it goes into a fragment of the Didact. It's pretty much him talking to himself, talking about how he's failed, talking about how bias has come undone, talking about, we're activating the array, it's shameful. He's thinking of the librarian, I picture you in a garden, I wish I could preserve all we created together. And it's just a very sad lamentation from the Didact. He even mentions the Great Journey. He says, this will begin our great journey without you. Probably talking about the librarian carrying this bitter record. For those who came after will know what we brought with this false transcendence, what you brought and the price you paid. Obviously talking about kind of the librarian, and she kind of sacrificed everything to preserve the galaxy after the rings and to kind of keep it as a living entity instead of it being just dead forever. So that's that. And then it goes, all records cease, and then it says, no, there is more, but you are not worthy, not yet. So to become worthy, you don't have to do anything except set the difficulty to legendary and literally just walk to the terminal. You don't have to do anything other than that, because there's no enemies between you and the first terminal.
Good point.
So that's literally what I did. I'm like, okay, I'm going to be worthy, set to legendary, and then immediately look at the terminal and then set back to heroic. So that's what's going to happen if you want to appear worthy.
Good job, Krysta.
I know. I'm the best. So when you appear worthy, the didact stuff doesn't show up at all. Instead, it shows this message from Medicant Bias, and I think it's important enough for us to just read it. So I'm going to read it to you. It's story time, guys.
Do it.
You don't know the contortions I had to go through to follow you here, Reclaimer. I know what you're here for. What position will you take? Will I follow one betrayal with another? You're going to say I'm making a habit of turning on my masters. But the one that destroyed me long ago, in the upper atmosphere of a world far distant from here, was an implement of a far cruder than I, talking about offensive bias. My weakness was capacity, unintentional though as it was, to choose the flood, a mistake my makers would not soon forgive. But I want something far different from you, Reclaimer, atonement. And so here, at the end of my life, I do once again betray a former master. The path ahead is fraught with peril, but I will do all I can to keep it stable, to keep you safe. I'm not foolish to think this will absolve me of my sins. One life hardly balances billions. But I would have my master know that I have changed, and you shall be my example.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So I guess we'll just kind of go to the story of Medicant Bias, because
makes sense.
We've been talking about this a little bit throughout these terminals, but Medicant Bias was a contender class AI, the most advanced AI of the time of creation. He was created to help learn about the Flood, and what they decided to do with him was to seek out the Gravemind and to get as much information out of him as possible, perhaps with force. When Medicant Bias actually approached the Gravemind did not want to fight him, but instead wanted to have a conversation with him. This conversation lasted for 43 years. In that period, the Gravemind kind of corrupted Medicant Bias, as it can corrupt AIs as well as humans and other biological entities.
So that's true logic, which is something I never got my brain around. So it doesn't corrupt them physically, just by having a conversation with them over a period of time. It like breaks down the logic of how they work and kind of turns them to his side, which is fascinating. It's awesome. This shows the higher intelligence of the
the Flood Gravemind.
The Flood Gravemind, yeah.
And I'm sure in this time, the Gravemind actually told Medicant Bias the truth of the Forerunners and what the Flood is and how the Flood came to be. A truth which, kind of in the Forerunner series, caused almost every Forerunner that heard the truth to either kill themselves or go mad. Mm-hmm. So that's another big factor. If you want to know that, read the Forerunner trilogy. I really don't want to spoil it for anyone.
We'll talk about that at some point.
Yeah. Well, maybe later. But so the conversation happened after the 43 years. Medicant Bias turned on the Forerunners and started fighting them in many different ways. One of the ways is he stole an entire Halo. He literally just stole a Halo, so that's kind of funny. He's just like, this is mine, and then the Forerunners are like, oh shit. So he took control of Halos, fired them against his former comrades, and did a lot to try to just disable the arrays and keep the arrays from firing throughout the entire war. Because there are two different arrays, and both of them do different things. So eventually, Offensive Bias was created literally to only destroy Medicant Bias. Of course, he succeeded, but the Forerunners decided to put Medicant Bias on like a trial of sorts. During this, they decided to not destroy Medicant Bias. One of the reasons being that he had so much knowledge of the Flood, they thought it would be a waste to completely destroy Medicant Bias. Mm-hmm. Instead, they extracted his kind of core, which is personality matrix and memory, and they entombed him in the sands of the Lesser Ark, the Ark we know. And Medicant Bias was supposed to basically, serve a life sentence until someone found him after the Forerunners died. So during this time, they're kind of setting up everything. Eventually, Medicant Bias kind of weasels his way to put a fragment of himself onto the key ship, or the Forerunner Dreadnought, which is what Truth flies out of High Charity and what's in the center of High Charity. And he kind of just hangs out like that for a while. You can kind of see him in a lot of different lore as people kind of go into High Charity and learn that he's there and stuff like that. It's in the Cold Protocol quite a bit. So when the Dreadnought actually landed back on the Ark, Medic and Bias was able to fully restore himself again. And that is when he got into the Ark systems and started talking with you and kind of told you what he's done and tried to help you. An interesting line in this is, here at the end of my life, he knows what's going to happen. He knows the Halo's going to be fired. He knows the Ark could possibly be destroyed. So I think that's a pretty significant line. And that's about it.
The Dreadnought originated from the Ark. Like, it was on the Ark at some point. And then...
Well, that's the thing that opens the portal.
Yeah. Right. But I'm saying, like, Medic and Bias was on the Ark. And then he got onto the Dreadnought that was on the Ark, and then somewhere along the lines, the Sanshayum got a hold of that Dreadnought.
I think the Dreadnought crashes on the Sanshayum world.
That's right.
At some point.
Yeah.
And then they kind of fight over what they should do with it, whether they should take the technology and use it, or whether they should just worship it. The side that takes the technology and uses it ended up winning, and then that's kind of how they conquer the galaxy, is with this Dreadnought. And then eventually, when it's not needed anymore and they catch up their technology with the Forerunner technology, it just becomes the center of High Charity.
Yep. And so Manic and Bias is on High Charity this whole time, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
And then he finally finds his way back to the Ark, and then that's when that conversation... That's interesting. I haven't put that all together yet.
Yeah, so... That's about it. Something that the Halo community really wants is a return of Medic and Bias, because he's probably one of the most interesting AIs in the Halo universe right now. So.
But that's like deep lore nerds. Like, that's like a deep, like, it's there, but it's under a couple different layers.
But the deep lore nerds are always asking to see what happened to him, and every time a book or any time we kind of go back to the Ark, people are like, where's Medic and Bias?
Right.
Why isn't Medic and Bias here? I'd love to see his return as well. So yeah, we don't know. Since this point in the Halo universe, we have no idea what happened to Medic and Bias after the firing of the Halo array, or the ring.
Right, so he's potentially still on the Ark.
Yeah. He could potentially still be in the systems.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's kind of where he reintegrated himself, is in the systems of the Ark.
Yeah.
So we just don't. At this point, he's missing in action. We have no idea where he is.
There is a book. It's Hunters in the Dark, where they go back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but he's not mentioned in that.
Yeah. Very interesting. Cool. Thanks for covering that. All right, so we're running long. Why don't we do community? I have an email from one of our fans, so I'll read that as well, and then we will close. And then look forward to our recap.
Hooray!
Let's do some Facebook stuff. David.
Okay, Facebook real quick. Colin Perkins created a poll. Moderator, June 17th at 3:32 p.m. Which game's Warhog Rung is better and why? Question for mission debrief Halo 3-Halo. Close bracket. We have Halo 3 and Halo CE. And it's a pretty good poll. One of our most, I think... participated poll. Is pretty crazy. So Halo 3 won by 28 votes to 19. The Halo CE.
Halo CE started out ahead. Just like to know.
Did it?
Yep.
Interesting. Yeah. It's one of the rare moments where, like, I actually did vote for Halo 3. I think I actually prefer that Warthog one, even though the first one is so iconic and includes the death of Foehammer.
Sad times.
You know, I know. It is sad times. This one is fun. And I think it's just way more fun to play and has a cooler ending. I think I really, like, especially on the harder difficulties, I definitely dislike Halo CEs way more than I hate this one. I think this one is, in case some of the Sentinels can kind of fuck you up, but like, other than that, there's a time limit to it as well and stuff like that. But anyway. Tyler Mordecai, Halo 3's Warhog Run is better due to the Halo ring is falling apart around you. Yeah, which is pretty cool. Jason Skeleton says Halo 3 is faster, more fluid, feels more epic. Too many times in CE you get stopped and have to navigate around pillars, etc. I agree. I think the run is way better designed in Halo 3. Lucas says the Halo 3 one, the one in CE feels so clunky and I kept running into things. J-Speed, Halo 3 for me, having a landscape crashing around as you attempt to make an escape was truly epic. I remember my heart racing to almost a cardiac arrest while screaming at the TV all my way in my first playthrough. Can't beat that. That's well said, Jay. James Whitmarsh, screaming at my idiot friends in 3's run will always be a highlight of my memories. Hey CE, Ben McPhee says CE, it's a bloody hard level, screw it up and you go back to the start. 3 saves are too generous, plus Fohammer dies. High stakes. Damn right, man. I actually thought Halo 3's was a bit lazy level design wise. I felt the way to the end of the game quickly, and you can only drive even though the Arbiter is right there with you. Wish you'd been a reason to get out and fight on foot in sections, like parts where the gate needed to be opened while fighting off the flood. I agree, but then it becomes less of a Warthog run and just a Warthog mission. But I can see his points. He kind of wants a bit more to it. Brad says Halo CE easily. Sure, H3 is smoother mechanics, but I feel the stakes are higher when you're trying to squeeze through a narrow tunnel aboard an exploding starship. And besides, nothing better than the original. I can see that. Boulder Awesome, says Wayne. But I feel Halo 3's version is trying too hard to be the Maw. Halo CE has my vote.
Whoa.
There's definitely harkens to that, but Bungie have always done that. They always do callbacks to their own games. And their own scenes. As seen all through this game is callbacks and spoilers of my date where we are, but like you can see in Halo Infinite callbacks to various designs and artistic styles and stuff. So like there's that coming back, that style. But yeah, that's a pretty good poll. Good opinion, guys.
What's Discord have to say?
Same thing for the Discord. Halo CE had 5 votes. Halo 3 had 9. Ian says Halo 3 because it doesn't have a bizarrely long pillar bottom with the open air atrium in the middle. And then they started
a map.
Yeah, they started complaining that the run is longer than the ship itself by a significant margin.
Right.
Oh yeah,
like
that's
it's like
hilarious,
3 times as big as the pillar bottom, which is
I
kind of
love
hilarious.
that. I love that. Yeah.
Look up that graphic if you haven't seen it.
That is.
Yeah, people say that the music is a lot better in Halo 3. They like it. They like it more. I think the music in both are just equally as good. J-Rock says I vote for Halo 3 Warthog Run because that skybox and environment are amazing. CE felt more like a fun theme park ride. Halo 3 is much more chaotic and thrilling, though playing with a 4-man team can get frustrating with the checkpoints. Yes, because you teleport to the person in front of you. It's
pretty terrible.
So annoying.
Yeah.
It's probably because the game can't handle you being so far behind. Probably just can't keep itself loaded with all the stuff going on. But it's almost as annoying in Halo CE when you're going through tunnels and you keep teleporting like 5 feet up.
Agreed.
Empty Basket says Halo 3 nostalgia at its best. I still hear screams at night of my 13-year-old self trying to complete the Vid Master Challenge. Xeef117 says, well, I have to agree with the nostalgia. It's been a wonderful thing. There has yet to be a video game that has made me feel the sense of accomplishment I felt when I beat CE Warthog Run for the first time when I was 7. LOL. So that's all we have.
When he's 7.
It's definitely...
That's
7. Wow. He was old. I was 6, so I mean...
Oh. Were you?
I was 6 when Halo CE came out.
Or Halo CE. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. No, not he was talking about Halo CE and that.
Gotcha.
But yeah, cool. Halo 3 best Warthog Run.
Best of the 2. Very nice.
That's cool.
All right. Well, let me read this email. We got this very sweet email from Lucas Fitzer. I'm going to read that off, and then we're just going to close the show. We're going to get out of here. It's been a long one, but a good one.
Yeah.
All right. Email. It says, hey, guys. So I don't know if you guys recorded the mission, but he wanted to get his thoughts out there because, we record at kind of weird times, and there's some gaps in between, but he wanted to make sure he had his thoughts out there. But he put together a little a picture, and it has kind of 4, it's like a quadrant of 4 different images, and he kind of talks about each each of the pictures and how they kind of affected him this last, just Halo 3 in this last mission. So I'll read through it. It says, top left, it's a really cool glitch I found in the game that is very little YouTube exposure considering how easy it is to do. After you kill Guilty Spark, exit the control room and follow the cliff on the right. You will enter the first room filled with sentinels and the flood. Once they are defeated, begin to make your way down the long hallway. I don't know exactly how far down you have to walk to trigger it, but turn around and try to go back outside along the cliff. Turns out you can't, and you're left with a really trippy wall that mimics the image of the gun that you have equipped. When I first figured this out, I think I went and showed all my friends and just had to show it whenever I played this level. That's kind of a cool little thing. I don't think we talked about that.
That is very cool.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that before.
Top right, he says, this one's the toughest achievements I've ever gotten in a video game. It was part of the VidMaster Challenge that gave you the Recon armor. Still furious that they eventually just gave the Recon armor to everyone. He said, after I got it for the first time, I helped my friends with this achievement as well. This led to me running this mission for this achievement more than a dozen times with various different groups of people. I don't know why I put myself through so much torture as a teenager, considering each time I did it took between 1.5 to 2.5 hours. Oof. And we mentioned that one, right? So is it on Legendary?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then everybody's in Ghosts, right?
Everybody's in Ghosts.
Yeah.
On Legendary.
It's
There
nuts.
may be another Skull All, I can't remember. There's it's very difficult. I've never done it.
That
Maybe we
sounds
should do it.
hard.
Oh my God, Krista. Sure.
Maybe we should up Lucas, and he can help shepherd us through.
Lucas, help us get the achievement.
All right, so he has another picture on the bottom left. He says it's hard, I can't visualize it or talk through it all. But anyway, this is one of the most common Easter eggs in the mission, and it's probably one of the toughest to get. I feel like you get really good at grenade jumps by getting the Easter egg. So I think this is the one. See, like the glitch, every time we played this level, we had to go see the Easter egg. Still not quite sure who it is. So that's the picture of Jason Jones is what he's talking about.
Oh.
Yeah. So, all right. So last one here, it says, this is the other most common Easter egg in the level, and I actually got to enjoy this grunt in my first playthrough of the game. So then he finds that grunt that we talked about when you're on the Halo, during the run. Very cool. Let me just read through his last little comments here. He says, at this point in my life, I hadn't even owned a 360. I was a Nintendo gamer, and the only FPS game I had played was Call of Duty 3 on the Wii and Time Splitters, which is a great freaking game, which I totally agree with. So this was my first real introduction to modern FPS games. One of the kids on my bus had gotten into the game that day and invited us to come over to his house to try it out. There were 6 of us total, so we switched off playing every level. We played through the entire campaign that night. And that Easter egg was the reason I started reading the books and the backstory of the Spartan program.
Oh, wow.
So I think he's talking about
Cool.
the grunt.
The grunt, yeah.
Very cool. He says, I really want to thank you guys for having such an awesome podcast. It was really scratched my itch for everything Halo. Please keep up the great work. Awesome, Lucas.
Oh,
thanks for listening.
Thank you. That's so sweet.
Very cool. All right.
I
Well,
love you.
We all love you. Not just Lucas, but everybody that's actually listening to this podcast.
If
Love
you
all.
listen, if you were listening to this, I love you.
And don't stop Krysta, please.
Meet me at Disney World.
God damn it. All right, that'll do it for our debriefing of the Halo mission from Halo 3. On the next episode, we will be recapping Halo 3, giving all our thoughts, how it stacks up against the other games we played so far, the end of the Bungo era. Drop us a tweet at Podcast Evolved or send us an email at gmail.com. We will talk to you next time. Evolved.
Evolved.
Evolved.